Napoleon Bonaparte was born on August 15, 1769, on the island of Corsica, a land already scarred by conquest. His father Carlo had accepted French rule, a betrayal that Napoleon would never forgive. Napoleon adored his mother Letizia, a strong-willed woman whose discipline shaped him. 9 years old, Napoleon left Corsica for mainland France to attend the Royal Military College at Brienne. He struggled with the cold, the French language, and the privilege of other students, but he adapted. By 16, Napoleon began his military apprenticeship, training with artillery units and learning the science of war. Napoleon was frustrated by slow promotion. Hard work alone could not overcome the need for wealth and connections. He longed for a cataclysmic event that would allow him to seize his destiny. That moment arrived with the French Revolution in 1789. Paris erupted into rebellion. Napoleon was not a revolutionary by nature, but he welcomed the fall of the old privileges that had blocked his advancement. When the French Republic was declared in 1792, Napoleon sought to enter politics in Corsica but was rebuffed by local authorities. Labeled a traitor, he fled to the mountains. Hardened and determined, now thoroughly French in spirit, returning to the French army, he was quickly sent to Toulon, where rebellion had opened a path to glory. He trained the infantry personally and led the assault on Fort Aiguillette, showing courage that inspired his men. His forces destroyed 10 British ships and forced the rest to retreat, earning him the rank of brigadier general at just 24. In 1795, Parisian mobs threatened the new government, and Napoleon's skill with artillery restored order decisively. Napoleon's reputation soared. By 26, he was commander of the Army of the Interior. Italy became his proving ground. French troops, once defeated and demoralized, were now a disciplined force under his leadership. He inspired his men with promises of glory, honor, and riches in fertile Italian lands. For nearly 2 years, Napoleon's brilliance brought stunning victories across Italy, Austria, and parts of North Africa. Napoleon returned to Paris in 1799, a hero from Italy, but a nation in turmoil awaited him. With rumors of coups and threats from foreign powers, he seized control, forming the consulate, quickly sidelining the other consuls. Napoleon rewrote the constitution, becoming first consul at age 30. Napoleon's Italy victories and political mastery had made him the most powerful man in France. To consolidate power, he prepared the army, crafting an unstoppable force known as the Grand Army. Napoleon mastered propaganda, commissioning portraits, sculptures, and writings to shape his image. In 1804, he crowned himself emperor at Notre Dame, declaring his authority over France. Across Europe, his victories became legendary. Austria, Italy, Prussia fell to his genius. Austerlitz. He deliberately exposed weakness to lure the enemy into a trap, crushing them decisively. By 1806, only Britain remained undefeated, holding power over the seas. Napoleon's dreams of invasion would be halted. Napoleon's army crossed the Alps in 1800, facing freezing conditions, hunger, and treacherous passes. Despite exhaustion, his troops achieved victory at Marengo, securing Italy for France. The Russian campaign in 1812 became his undoing, as winter and scorched earth devastated the Grand Army. Moscow was abandoned. The retreat cost over 500,000 men. Napoleon faced his first real collapse. In 1813, the Battle of Leipzig, or Battle of Nations, crushed French forces, signaling the empire's decline. Napoleon was forced to abdicate in 1814, sent into exile on the Mediterranean island of Elba. After 10 months, he escaped, sailing back to France with a handful of loyal soldiers. Landing on French soil, Napoleon faced the royal army, yet his charisma won them over. Within days, he had reclaimed Paris, and Louis XVIII fled. Napoleon was back in power. Europe rallied to stop him, determined that this time he would be destroyed utterly. The decisive battle came at Waterloo on June 18, 1815. Outside a small Belgian town, Napoleon faced 68,000 Allied soldiers under the Duke of Wellington, matched by 72,000 French troops. His Imperial Guard attacked too late, while muddy ground delayed his initial assault. Prussian reinforcements entered the battle, striking Napoleon's right flank and sealing his fate. The French army was defeated. Napoleon abdicated for the second time, ending his rule. He was exiled to the remote British colony of Saint Helena, a man without a future, confined to a life of reading newspapers and gardening. The man of unstoppable ambition faced solitude. He died on May 5, 1821, likely from stomach cancer. Whispering to a guard about defeat and glory, Napoleon is remembered as a military genius, a tactician without peer, whose legacy endures in law, institutions, and history. To die is nothing, but to live defeated and without glory is to die every day. The lesson of Napoleon's life. Napoleon's rise showed how ambition, intellect, and charisma can transform a man from obscurity to power. Even as a man of small stature, his confidence projected invincibility that inspired loyalty. He made use of words, newspapers, and portraits to craft a legend larger than life. In Italy, Napoleon demonstrated tactical brilliance, transforming inexperienced troops into a conquering force. Each victory reinforced his belief that he was destined to shape the future of Europe, yet ambition carries risk. Every conquest brings new enemies and unexpected challenges. The British Navy, unbeatable at sea, blocked Napoleon's attempt to invade England. Napoleon shifted focus back to Europe, marching across the Alps in a daring winter campaign. His leadership turned exhaustion into courage, fear into determination. Victories in Italy and Austria established him as Europe's most formidable general. At Austerlitz in 1805, Napoleon deliberately exposed a weak flank, luring the Allies into a trap. His army struck decisively, cutting the enemy line and leaving the battlefield silent. By late afternoon, Europe bowed to Napoleon. Victory after victory solidified his reputation as invincible, yet Britain remained a formidable opponent, holding command of the seas. Napoleon's ambition extended to Egypt, aiming to threaten Britain's trade routes. Though unsuccessful in Egypt, his return to Paris in 1799 was met with heroes' acclaim. Political turmoil provided him the perfect opportunity to seize power. As first consul, he skillfully sidelined his co-consuls, rewriting the constitution to become France's leader. At age 30, he wielded absolute power, inheriting a nation desperate for stability. The Grand Army, molded under his command, became Europe's most efficient conquering force. In December 1804, he crowned himself emperor at Notre Dame, asserting control over his destiny. Victory followed victory. Austria, Prussia, and Italy fell before his campaigns. Britain, supreme at sea, remained his most dangerous adversary. Crossing the Alps in 1800, Napoleon faced deadly conditions but led with unwavering determination. At Marengo, he turned exhaustion into triumph, securing Italy for France. The Russian campaign of 1812 would prove his undoing. As the Grand Army faced relentless retreat and freezing winter, Moscow was abandoned, leaving Napoleon to confront the cost of ambition and overreach. In 1813, the coalition crushed French forces at Leipzig, signaling the empire's decline. Forced to abdicate in 1814, Napoleon was exiled to Elba, a man without the power he had once wielded. Napoleon grew restless in Elba, determined to reclaim the power he had lost. On February 26, 1815, he secretly sailed back to France with a handful of loyal soldiers. Landing on French soil, he faced the royal army, but his presence inspired immediate loyalty. Soldiers and citizens flocked to him. Paris welcomed the Redeemer Emperor with open arms, yet Europe would not let him rise again without a decisive reckoning. Napoleon faced the Battle of Waterloo on June 18, 1815. His final stand. 72,000 French soldiers met 68,000 Allied troops under Wellington's command. Rain and mud delayed his initial attacks, weakening his tactical advantage. The Prussians arrived to strike his right flank, sealing the French defeat. Napoleon's Imperial Guard attacked too late. The battle was lost. He abdicated again, this time knowing there would be no return. Exiled to Saint Helena, Napoleon faced isolation and the end of his ambitions. Confined to reading and gardening, the once unstoppable man experienced solitude. On May 5, 1821, he died, whispering to a guard about living without glory. To die is nothing, but to live defeated and without glory is to die every day. His reforms in France laid foundations still visible today. In law, education, and government, the Napoleonic Code influenced legal systems far beyond France's borders. His military strategies are studied in academies worldwide, a blueprint for commanders. Napoleon's story reminds us that vision, risk, and audacity can change history, yet even the greatest can fall. Hubris and miscalculation leave legacies of both triumph and tragedy. Napoleon remains a symbol of ambition, strategy, and the consequences of unchecked power. His image was carefully curated, making him both feared and admired across Europe. Despite his small stature, Napoleon's presence dominated rooms and battlefields alike. He inspired loyalty and obedience, turning ordinary men into elite forces. Napoleon's genius lay in combining intellect, strategy, and charismatic leadership. His campaigns reshaped Europe, redrawing borders and influencing politics for decades. Napoleon's ambition carried him from Corsica to the center of world history. He embraced risk and innovation, often turning impossible odds into victory. His campaigns were as much about psychology as military tactics. France's institutions, from law to education, bear his lasting imprint. The Napoleonic Code standardized laws, influencing nations far beyond France. His victories inspired both admiration and fear across Europe. Every triumph contained the seeds of eventual downfall. The Russian winter, scorched earth, and relentless pursuit decimated his once mighty army. From the heights of power to exile, Napoleon experienced the fragility of empire. His final years were marked by reflection, isolation, and fading glory. Even in confinement, his mind remained sharp, recounting battles and strategies. Death came on May 5, 1821, but his legend would endure. His words reflected his enduring philosophy: to live without glory glory is to die every day. Napoleon's life is a testament to ambition, risk, brilliance, and the impermanence of power. Napoleon's story teaches us how ambition can reshape nations, and lives that he remains studied in military academies worldwide. A benchmark for leadership. Napoleon's reforms in France standardized education, law, and civil administration. His military campaigns showed the power of strategy, foresight, and audacity, yet his downfall reminds us that even the greatest are vulnerable to miscalculation. Crossing the Alps, facing harsh winters, and fighting massive battles tested his limits. Russia proved the ultimate adversary, decimating his army and changing Europe's balance. Napoleon's exile to Saint Helena marked the quiet end of a stormy life. Confined, he spent days reading, writing, and recalling the battles that defined him. On May 5, 1821, he whispered his final words about glory and defeat. To die is nothing. To live defeated and without glory is to die every day. His story is a blend of genius, courage, ambition, and human vulnerability. Napoleon's life reminds us that extraordinary vision can both elevate and destroy. History judges him not just for victories, but for lessons in leadership and ambition. His reforms, strategies, and campaigns remain studied worldwide, yet the ultimate message is clear. Power is fleeting, and glory temporary. From Corsica to Europe's vast battlefields, his story intertwines ambition and fate. His life continues to inspire debate, admiration, and caution. Napoleon's legacy is a testament to human potential and the risks of overreach. In the end, his life asks us, what would you risk to shape your destiny? Napoleon's life story is both a warning and an inspiration. His ambition reshaped Europe, showing what one determined mind can achieve. He combined intellect, strategy, and charisma to create a legacy that outlasts empires, yet even the greatest fall, reminding us of limits and mortality. From glorious victories to exile, his journey reflects the highs and lows of ambition. Napoleon's reforms endure in law, education, and governance worldwide. His military strategies are still taught as examples of brilliance and audacity. Napoleon shows how vision, courage, and leadership can reshape the world. But he also reminds us that unchecked ambition can lead to downfall. Napoleon's life asks a final question: what would you risk to leave your mark on history?